Welcome. It's a great pleasure to be here today to have a conversation about excellence. There's a lot of ways, of course, to look at this topic, and I'm really pleased to be able to share with you guys my particular way of understanding some of the best things I've got taught in this area. To start with, I believe everything here starts with self-awareness. I have a big eye looking at a sky model. Big eyeball in the sky looking at a stick person. It's meant to indicate you taking a look at you. I believe any of us interested in moving toward our version of excellence, this is where we start. And we start here, I believe, because of a basic claim. You cannot change another human being. Who has tried? Who's married here, by the way? 28 years, I love my wife. She can influence me, but she cannot change me. I can change me. But I can't change what I don't notice. You cannot change what you don't notice. Now, you may notice and choose not to change. Fantastic. Now you got your eyes open. But if you don't notice, you don't even get to choose. Guys, I also think that moving toward our version of excellence is connected to our ability to adopt a new way of understanding in one particular area. One particular area. If we can change the way we think about this one thing. So what I'd like to do for the next 20 minutes, I'd like you to think about right now, bring to mind one aspect of your life that you'd like to move toward your version of excellence in that area. And just have that in the background as you're thinking about what we cover, and just see if there's a way that what we touch on here you can use to help you move in this direction. So this one area, ask 100 people, ask 1,000 people, ask 100,000 people, what is language? What is language for? What will the gigantic majority answer with? A tool for communication. I promise you, that is such a widely held idea that most people don't see that as an idea about language. They see it as a definition, as a fact. I offer this. If language is a tool, it's a tool we can't put down. It's different than the other ones. It's fundamentally, qualitatively different. The way of understanding that has really served me in my life, and I now get to share with folks, is this. Language creates and generates. It does not simply describe. It is fundamentally not simply a descriptive and passive thing. Some examples. I asked my friend to have lunch with me tomorrow at 1 o'clock. If he says yes, we have just now invented a tomorrow at 1 o'clock that 5 seconds ago was not going to happen. We're not describing anything. We're making something happen. Think about every time in your life you ever said the word yes. I'm talking every single time that word ever came out of your mouth. Here's a question. If all those times you had said no instead, would your life be different? Yes, you wouldn't be in this room. The simple act of saying yes, we move in the world this way, these doors open, these doors close, and vice versa. One of my favorite stories about how language creates is a baseball story. These two umpires are sitting around talking. The first one says, Joe is a fabulous umpire. There's balls in their strikes, and he calls them like they are. And the second umpire said, no. Joe is a great umpire, but there's balls in their strikes, and he calls them like he sees them. Joe walks up and says, y'all both wrong. He said, there's balls in their strikes, but they ain't nothing till I call them. When he says strike three, you're out. This question is for any of us in this room who are married now or have ever been married, and it's a simple question. Is it different being married than not being married? Yes. I was with an older guy one time who said, it's been so long I cannot remember. It's different. It's different legally, socially, sexually, emotionally, financially. It's different. So the obvious question, right, is how did we go from being not married to being married? How'd that happen? Somebody said something. Somebody said something, and it's different, and it's not trivially different. It's not marginally different. It's really different. We speak ourselves into the world. We speak ourselves into the world. I'm not suggesting that we don't describe with language. What I'm saying is that is not all that we do. That is not all that we do. How was the United States of America created? Think about it. What is there in the archives under the glass right next to the Constitution? This country was declared into being. Now, there was work to do after that, yes, but without the Declaration, it does not happen. It does not happen. Organizations are declared into being. Leaders get paid to have effective conversations. Think about it. Can you be a strong leader without the ability to lift 100 pounds over your head? Can you be a powerful leader from a wheelchair? Of course, and we have historical examples all over the place. All over the place. Language is not simply a passive tool for describing stuff. Consider an argument you may have had in your life. It was a bad argument. It escalated. It was not fun for you or the other person. Maybe when you were a teenager. Maybe when you were a younger person. Hopefully not last night. But an argument. But at some point, right, you separate from the argument. You calm down. You have a glass of water. And as you're cooling off, this thought slowly trickles in your mind. You know, as I think about it now, I actually kind of wish I hadn't said that. Has anybody ever had this experience ever in your life? Welcome to a big club called, if we're honest, all of us. So here's the question. Regardless of the content of our argument, why do we ever think or say, I wish I hadn't said that? Why do we think that? Why does that ever come up? Because I produced something back there I didn't just describe. And now looking back, I say, that's not the result I wanted to produce. A diminishment in possibilities is a result. A shift in context is a result. A change in the nature of an important relationship is a result, are they not? Yes, they're not physical, but they're real. They're utterly real. Another aspect of language, for those of us seeking our version of excellence in our lives, is to notice this. We live in language. We live in language. Now, what does that mean, that expression? I like to frame it this way. Who in this room has the little voice inside? The one that's saying, what's he talking about? That's the one I'm talking about. That's the one. Who has the debate team? One of my favorite quotes of all time is attributed to Mark Twain, and I don't know if he actually said this, but I love this quote. It is, I'm always in conversation, and sometimes other people are involved. And it's not just Mark Twain, it's us. It is all of us. And because we live in language, this is what we do. You and everybody you know now and ever will know, and me and everybody I know now and ever will know, we are confronted with events. Events at home, events at Rotary, events at church, events at PTA, events with our kids, events at the beach, events in the shower. And what we do as a human being, we make up stories about these events. We hold these stories to be the truth, and we forget that we made them up. I mean it. Now, when I say story, I don't mean fib or fabrication. It's not a purposeful manipulation. It's not a self-deception. It's an explanation, is it not? It's an interpretation. For those of us seeking our version of excellence in our lives, here's what I have learned. Our ability to keep events and explanations separate is key. Event does not equal explanation. One example. Let's pretend your high school age child or grandchild comes home, looks you in the eye, and says, I'm stupid. What are you talking about, son? I'm stupid. What are you talking about? I got an F on my English midterm. In this little example, what's the event? F on the test. What's the explanation? I'm stupid. Question. If that kid lives in that conversation long enough, is that a descriptive thing or a creative thing? That's a creative thing. And let's back up now from the F and the test and think more broadly. Is it the events of your life or your explanations about those events that are more influential as to the actual actions you end up taking in the world? Which is it? The explanation. And out of the actual actions we take in the world, we produce something called results in a ridiculously wide variety of areas, do we not? And the explanation is the springboard, not the event. You guys know this. Out of any given event, how many possible explanations are there? Infinite. I believe those of us seeking our version of excellence, what will serve us is to kick a habit, and that habit is the habit of throwing the right-wrong grid, the right-wrong scaffolding on top of our and other people's explanations. How about let's kick this habit and have a different scaffolding, a different grid? How about powerful, unpowerful? It would look like this. Is your explanation powerful or unpowerful given the results you say you want? Does your explanation serve you or not serve you given what you say you want to be, do, or have in this relationship? Given what you say you want to be, do, or have in this situation. Always with the tagline, right? Given the results you say you want. Never in a vacuum. Because here's the deal. We're doing this already anyway. We are Mark Twain. That's not on the table. That's not up for debate. We're doing it. The only thing we're talking about now is big I self-awareness, right? That's the only thing we're talking about is, do you see yourself as doing this? That's the only question on the table. Have you ever met someone who did not see themselves as doing this? They didn't see themselves as making up explanations? Here's an exaggerated version of it. I got here today early enough. I got to speak with several of you guys and have very nice, brief conversations. Even in those short conversations, it's obvious to me how each of you are necessarily influenced by your age, your race, your sex, your degree of travel or non-travel, your cultural, educational, and work histories, and how these necessarily serve as filters through which you perceive reality. I, on the other hand, am somehow blessed with cosmic objectivity and was somehow born unfettered in this regard and unburdened by all the cognitive, emotional, and cultural filters that clog you up. My eyes are somehow, amazingly, more like clear panes of glass, allowing me access to native reality in such a way that it yields cosmically objective viewpoints. How excellent for me that I was somehow born and blessed with such a gift. Everybody is interpreting no matter what, no exceptions ever. One of my teachers in this work said it this way. He said, Chalmers, never forget, everything that is said by someone. Of course, someone who was born somewhere, someone who was born in some culture, in some time period somewhere, raised, of course, by individual human beings, each of whom has standards, values, beliefs, life experiences, like all of us. But folks, be with me. Those of us consciously seeking excellence in our lives, I want to say this in a particular way. This is big I self-awareness. If you do not see yourself now as making up explanations, and you couple that with not producing some important result that you say you want, well, then the option for you of authoring a more powerful interpretation, it'll never occur to you. It'll be off your radar screen. Because if you don't think you're doing it now, there's nothing to update. And what we will have done, right, is take off the table a really outstanding set of leverage points for making a real difference. We will have removed from the field of play, right, a type of learning that could really, really serve us. That can really, really serve us. Here's a question. Do our explanations have anything to do with our moods? Take a wild guess. What do you think? Yes. And big I self-awareness, guess what? Many, if not most of us, are terrible observers of our own moods. We don't even see them as moods. We see them as the way things are. It was taught to me this way. If you do not see yourself as having moods, you don't have them, they have you. And they will color our interpretations and we'll never see it. In many ways, my wife is a better observer of my mood than me. You guys buy that? She said, Chalmers, why are you in that mood? You know my response at least half the time? What mood? I'm not being pessimistic. I'm being realistic. Say it like it really is. Objectively. Unburdened by all the filters that have you clogged up. I'm just a conduit for native reality streaming through. I'm simply reporting out. So let's pay attention, huh? Let's pay attention. If language creates and generates, and if we live in language, then we are always creating or generating something. It just may or may not be what we say we want out of the other side of our mouth. But none of this makes any sense at all if you don't see yourself as doing it now. You with me? None of this makes any sense whatsoever if you don't take responsibility now as the author of these interpretations. A few points, guys. I want to bring us to some other distinctions I want to share with you. Those of us seeking excellence in our lives, this is a distinction. It has to do with language, a distinction that is a powerful distinction that I believe will serve each of us. Here's the distinction. A promise broken is not the same as a silent expectation unmet. If you are married, this will serve you. Are we clear? A promise broken is not the same as a silent expectation unmet. If you break a promise to me, I'm going to make a responsible complaint, right? We have a trust issue. We're going to have a different conversation. But if you just don't magically fulfill my unspoken expectation, I got no grounds to make a complaint. Now, I can make a request, of course, but different tone, different vibe. I believe this. I believe there are thousands, if not millions of people right now walking around offended. You know why they're offended? Because people in their life didn't magically fulfill their unspoken expectations. Be with me. Resentment is that which arises when you fail to honor a request I never made. And unfortunately, we have too many resentful people walking around. We do. Keep them separate. They are not the same thing. True story. My wife was a third-year resident, medical school student. I was at Anderson Consulting in New Orleans. We didn't have any kids. We were at home in the evening. I'm in the den watching TV, watching a ball game. She's in the kitchen washing dishes. I'm noticing it. I'm having to turn the game up because it's starting to get kind of loud in the kitchen. And now I'm noticing it's getting inconsiderately loud. So I'm having a really hard time with this. Y'all are clear with this. This is not ending well, right? We had in my house that night what's called, and this is perfect, a come to Jesus meeting, right? We had a come to Jesus meeting. She had the expectation that banging on the pots and pans, I would interpret that as a request, please come help me. Unfortunately, at that point in my life, I was operating with a set of beliefs that broadly speaking look like this. Men are born with and naturally have built-in aptitudes and likes. In this category go things like hunting and fishing, outdoor activities, playing sports and watching sports, working for a living. Women are different. They have a whole other set of built-in aptitudes, and not just aptitudes, things that they inherently like to do. And in this category goes housework. And isn't that excellent? Because that's precisely the sort of stuff that I don't like. This is working out great. She said, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. I don't like this any more than you do. I just have different standards for cleanliness. So guys, keep them separate. Nothing wrong with expectations. Comes from a Latin word that means to wait. Nothing wrong with waiting. But it's not a very powerful scaffolding for relationships. It's not a very powerful scaffolding for collaborative action inside organizations. So those of us seeking our version of excellence, I would invite you to notice the extent to which you live your life with promises, commitments, and agreements, as opposed to expectations and assumptions. Just some clarity, right? Just a bit of clarity. Folks, I want to end my conversation with you guys. There's a book, one of my favorite books of all time. The guy's name is Eknath Easwaran, and he has a book called Words to Live By. And there's 365 quotes, everybody from Mother Teresa to Buddha to Jesus to Einstein to it's all over the charts. It's fantastic, and he has a little commentary after it. And I read this one, and I want to end my talk today by sharing with you something he said. And guys, think about this now. We're looking at excellence in our lives. Love is a skill, a precious skill that can be learned. There are many other skills that are useful, even necessary, but in the end, nothing less than learning to love will satisfy us. The saints and mystics of all religions tell us that life has only one overriding purpose: to discover the source of infinite love, and then to express this love in daily living. Without love, life is empty. Without love, life is meaningless. The only purpose which can satisfy us completely, fulfill our desires, and then make our life a gift to the whole world is the gradual realization of the divine self within. which throws open the gates of love. We cannot dream what depth and breadth of love we are capable of until we make the discovery that this divine spark lives in every creature. Thank you.